Hello everybody, and welcome to the Ghostly Hour. In this episode, we're going to return to the Paper Street haunting for the third and final part. Unfortunately, it's going to end on a kind of a cliffhanger because the original author hasn't released the final part. And without further delay, here's the story. They had been occupying parallel worlds, internal and external. It was Jacqueline's birthday, and any other year it would be an exuberant celebration for the both of them. A once or twice in a year expensive dinner, and then whatever activity she chose. But ever since moving into 414 Paper Street, the gesture that year was but a formality. They slipped past each other in the hall, cheeks turned away without speaking a word, living like roommates, intentionally ignoring one another. She had moved her makeup room into the bedroom, describing the second bedroom as cold and creepy. Her discomfort with it so strong, she chose to avoid that end of the hall altogether, asking Greg to enter that room if she needed something fetched. "Do you notice that sunlight doesn't hit this hallway?" she asked thoughtfully. "The fucking window in the other room is directly across from the hallway. It just makes no sense. I've noticed that since the first day." Alright, pause real quick. The first thing you're going to do if no sunlight is mysteriously hitting a hallway, even though there's a window, is burn the house to the ground and get out. It happened on one Wednesday night in mid-October. Greg received a call at work at an hour when Jacqueline knew he was busy, and when he answered, her voice subdued and shaky, she begged him to hurry home. He pulled up alongside the house and found her sitting in her running car at 10 p.m., with the heat blasting, and she wound down the window. "What happened?" he asked in a panic. "Please come in here and sit with me." Jacqueline was fearless, but this night her eyes regarded him like a frightened puppy. "I heard footsteps upstairs in the spare bedroom, but I've been inside all day with the doors locked. I started to walk up the stairs. When I got upstairs, right before I turned on the light, I heard something drop. I screamed, so loudly I screamed. I flicked on the light and a crown was rolling across the floor. There were no shelves in that room, nothing that anything could possibly drop from, but then again, in Greg's mind, she might have been mistaken. Maybe the heat kicked on and blew it across the room. Maybe nothing dropped, but a pipe clattered. Jack, I think I'm rubbing off on you. All this BS about ghosts and demons, it's my fault. I'm sure there's a rational explanation." "Oh, come on, guys, the ghost is already moving stuff. Y'all definitely need to get out of the house." Rational. That's how he had to be, even if under the surface he knew different. He had begun to rationalize the unexplainable. The glazed plate mysteriously knocked off the wall, gentle knocks on the walls, as if somebody was living inside them. It was all just a house. Somebody built it at one point. The floors, steps, ceilings, even that suspicious walled-off section in the basement. Maybe if we ignore it, it'll go away. Inside the car, a calm washed over the both of them. "There's nothing in the house, babe." She continued to stare through the windshield into the distance, the glare of the streetlights just illuminating only one side of her face, pupils unmoving and entranced. He placed his hand on her shoulder and she shivered, jostled from her daze, and she looked back at him with an expression of confusion, and eventually faded back into the present. "Let's start trying again, remember? We said that after we got married we'd try. I think that would bring us joy." Her demeanor of dread melted away and she smiled quaintly, remaining silent. And then Greg turned away from her once more, too soon. "Well, I need to go get a shower. Do you realize," she interjected, "that when we aren't in there, all of a sudden we get along so well?" Greg said nothing, looking ahead pensively. "Do you?" she repeated. Greg exhaled. "It's just a house." "Yeah, I don't know, whatever. Come on." Greg meticulously scanned the yard and street, always on guard, regarding the people who lived around them, or what people could be walking by, watching, conniving. "I'm more worried about these people out here than anything in there," he said in a matter-of-fact tone. The bathroom rested directly in between the two bedrooms upstairs, and that night she asked her husband to stand outside the door while she peed. He finally laid down next to her at her request, until she fell asleep. She was snoring within minutes. There was a long period of silence before commotion echoed from outside. Greg approached a bedroom window and peered out to see a group of black teens shoving each other and talking loudly in the street in front of the house. They stopped by Jacqueline's car and looked into the windows, hunched over and laughing out loud. Greg grabbed his phone ready to call the police, but soon moved on their way. Greg laid back down and stared up at the off-white colored ceiling paint, smeared in circular vortex patterns, Doppler satellite of multiple hurricanes. His eyes shut and he began to relax. He began to sink into the mattress, lenitively, thoughts beginning to loosen and alertness ever present, and started to drift off, falling in sync with Jacqueline's slumberous breathing. All of a sudden his heart began to race. His eyes opened fully, shaken out of his solace. His heart began beating faster and faster, and even more rapidly still. It kept climbing, faster and faster. He jumped out of bed when the left side of his face went numb and Googled heart attack symptoms. He rushed down the stairs, holding his hand over his chest, and sat on the bottom step in the dark. Breathe, he told himself, but it only got worse. I'm having a heart attack. He rushed to the kitchen and found aspirin and downed several pills. As he hovered over the sink, hyperventilating, the room began to shift between freezing and unbearably hot. The walls had begun to sweat once again, leaving puddles on the floor. Whatever you are, he began. You're winning, okay? He shouted aloud. Fuck, this place is cursed. And that's it for the Paper Street Haunting, as the author still hasn't released the final segments of his story. On our next episode, you might just have a paranormal investigation. We finally secured the gear. Now we just need to find the location. Any ideas, drop in the comments. And thanks for listening.